So welcome everyone to our Self-Love and Light sessions, which have ended up remaining as Self-Love and Light, even though we've been thinking about changing the name because of the diversity of topics, but it's Self-Love and Light for now. So thank you for joining us, participants. Our topic today is cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation. So again, thanks for joining. And I'd like to start by just asking the panelists if anyone wants to have a go at maybe defining what they think cultural appropriation is. Yeah.
For me, that is when you kind of like mock someone else's culture, and maybe wear some clothing that's a tradition to another culture without knowing the meaning behind it, and show some type of lack of respect towards it.
Okay, thanks, Imani, for that, for your view on what you think appropriation is. Anyone else want to have a go or want to comment about what Imani has said? Yeah, Jamila?
What I think appropriation is when you take someone else's culture but you don't show appreciation, or you don't give credit to where you got it from in the first place, and you just wear it without any looking on the background of what it means. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jamila. Thanks for that other view on what appropriation, what you think appropriation is. So I'm just going to give you a definition from dictionary.com, and it says cultural appropriation is the adoption or co-opting, usually without acknowledgement, of cultural identity markers associated with or originating in minority communities by people with a relatively privileged status. So I think the key words there are minority communities, people from a privileged status, and acknowledgement. So that's just basically the key words I want you to think about. And if anyone wants to throw in some current news, because there has been current news about appropriation, please do. And yeah, we'll just discuss it. So, yes, Keshi?
No, I just wanted to say that it's important to have this discussion, because in this age of social media, the different kinds of social media like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, or whatever people are using these days, we become a culture where people watch what others are doing, and then people get called out for cultural appropriation and that kind of thing. So it's important to have a discussion to see, are people taking it too far? Is it a true thing? Is it a thing actually? Does it exist? And what really is it? Or could it be something else that people would learn to accept instead of this call out culture all the time?
Yeah, thanks, Keshi. What do you guys, maybe Imani and Jamila, who've talked about appropriation, what do you think of what Keshi has said?
I think that what Tadakeshi is saying about social media being one of the things that opens people's eyes to certain situations, I do think that it's bad in a way, because then you have the people who do go overboard and they start calling people out even though they're appreciating the culture, which I don't think is good. But I think it's very, very good that people who culture appropriate need to be told that they're doing it, and people can see that they're doing it, because before they just got away with doing things without appreciating, and then basically it's like making a mockery, I think. So
thanks, Iman. Sorry, Jamila, for saying that. You're right about being able to actually have the discussion, because like Keshi said, then we can see and discuss amongst diverse communities whether some things are being taken too far, or maybe education is needed around some of these subjects that are usually out on social media. How about you, Imani?
I agree with Mil that there are some times where it's taken a bit too far. Like, it's good that now people are more aware about being careful with how they approach someone else's culture. But sometimes I've also seen videos online where some guy will maybe wear locks or whatever, where a Black woman would lash out on him for having that, which I disagree with, because I think it's all about the attitude. Like, if you, as she said, if you appreciate the culture and you know its origin, then I just see no problem when people liking things that's from someone else's culture. I actually feel like, wow, you like our culture. That's so cool. I'm kind of proud of that.
Yeah, thanks, Imani, for giving that view that you feel that as long as somebody acknowledges the source and they're not being disrespectful, that you don't really think there's an issue with it. So let me just show you this, share my screen to show you actually where this whole cultural appropriation blew into the public eye. I mean, the term has been there for quite a while, but this is a story that made the term more popular. And I don't know if you guys know this story about this lady called Rachel Dolezal. Do people know the story? Okay, all right. So Rachel Dolezal is a woman in America who is a white woman who some years back decided she wanted to adopt this Black identity, I suppose, and she changed herself completely. And she said, I think she said she identifies as Black or something. And she then went on to have this persona that is completely different from what she was born as, which I will show you just now. It looked like this, which just shocked people because the people didn't know this. So this is how she was born. And obviously she changed to that. So there was a big controversy around it because she actually went on to work in a university that gave opportunities to Black people. And she took a role that was meant for the minority groups and took on that role and got the job on the basis that she was someone from a minority group. So she took that opportunity, and she never told anyone that this wasn't the case. So she just benefited from that and exploited it for years until her family called her out. So that's how this whole appropriation term exploded into the public eye. So that's how it started. So I wanted to ask you guys, have you seen the story now about Rita Ora in the news?
Yes, we have. I have.
Yeah, so this is maybe from yesterday or maybe the day before yesterday, so not that far back. So Rita Ora is an artist, an Arabic artist who's from Albania. And as far as I know, she's always said that she's Albanian. She hasn't tried to say that she's anything other than that. But her style and her look is, many people thought she was of a different background. So as Keshi said, somebody called her out on social media and was like, oh, we didn't know that you were appropriating. We thought you were from a certain background, and people are very angry. So I just want to discuss that along with this other story and just hear what everyone thinks. Who was also accused of cultural appropriation because she's an Irish dancer. So she does the Irish dancing. So why don't we discuss that, and just everyone can just comment and give their viewpoint.
One. So about that one, I don't hate on the woman for liking Black culture and everything, which is cool. I just don't what takes me off is the whole university thing, where it's a place for minorities who are not given a chance anywhere else. It's harder for them, and then she just takes that seat, which annoys me because she will not experience any racism the moment she says she's white. People would just treat her like not with racism or anything that sort. She has privilege, so she takes all the good things about being a Black person, because Black culture is considered cool, but people don't like Black people that much themselves. So it's like you just take the good parts but leave all that part where you experience racism out. I didn't like that.
Yeah, thanks, Imani. So for you, your issue is not that she changed her look. You're cool with that. You think she can do what she like, and if she likes the look and the culture, that's fine. So for you, the issue was that she took an opportunity from another person of a minority group when she could have easily probably gotten that opportunity elsewhere. Am I correct?
Yeah, for the most part, but I also do agree that I don't know what I feel about people changing they're trying to be another race. I'm not that comfortable with the thought. Let's just say that.
Yes, Keshi?
Yeah, regarding this woman, I just want to say that she essentially put on blackface in order to enjoy privileges, maybe. And what is baffling is that already as somebody, a white woman, she already has privilege in society. So this is baffling to me why she would do that. But what I found really saddening is that when it comes to being Black, it comes with a lot of historical racism and many other things. But this woman changing her whole persona and trying to pass off herself as a Black person, she could easily remove that persona and turn into the white person she is, and to escape any injustices and racism a Black person faces. But we as Black people can't do that. So that was really what was offensive to me, that she's taking on a persona, and at any moment, if she would feel maybe profiled or whatever, it's easy for her to take that off. We can't do that as Black people or minorities. So that was what was irritating. This was not appreciation. This was going too far. It was actually blackfishing taken to a very high level, where you even take privileges from other people. So that was offensive to me. But regarding Rita Ora, sorry, for me, Rita has never claimed to be anything else. The media hyped her up as the next, the British Rihanna. So really, you have to look at the media's role in when we have people who do this kind of thing. That if somebody is hyped up and we buy it, who is culpable here? If you buy it, she's all the time said she's Albanian. So who's to blame here?
Yeah, thanks, Keshi, for your point there. You made a very important point, which is actually in terms of academic work around appropriation, is the fact that it's easy to put on some of these costumes or looks when you're not from a minority group, but you're able to take that off if you're faced with any discrimination or any profiling. It's easy for you to take it off. But if you're a Native American, a Black person, and an Indian, these are not things you can take off once you get into some problematic situation. And I think that's part of the thing that kind of frustrates some people. So you can appreciate a culture, but if you really love it, then also try and advocate and fight against some of the discrimination that people from this culture that you love and appreciate are facing. Get involved and raise your voice as somebody with privilege to highlight some of the issues that these minority groups face. anyone want to comment on what Keshi has said? Yes, Jamila?
Mine is not what Tadakeshi said. It's about the girl who did the Irish dancing.
Yeah.
My opinion on this matter is that yes, she was appropriating, and I do think that she should have, I don't know, spoken, because she just started it on TikTok without saying anything, and then afterwards I think that's when she said, yeah, I saw it one day and I really loved it. But what I don't get is that she said she goes to Irish dancing classes in America, which means that there will be other people, like for example Caucasian people who practices Irish dancing, but they would never be called out on it the same way she was. There's many people who practice Irish dancing or other dancing like Scottish and stuff like that, but they're not told anything because people are not educated enough to know that there's being Irish and then there's just being Caucasian, and they're two different things. Being Irish, you have your own culture from someone, for example, in Britain, like in England. So it's that line that people think that just because a whole race together does it, for example, Caucasian, it's okay, but as soon as a black person does it, it's not, even though it's actually the same thing if someone else of that race did it and it's not their culture originally.
Okay, so I see your point, Mila. So you're saying that the others who are doing the Irish dancing with her were most likely not Irish themselves, and you just feel that it was a bit hypocritical. Am I right?
Yeah.
But you also said that the girl herself should have acknowledged from the start that this was Irish dancing. So we're back to whoever is doing the cultural appropriating. It's important to acknowledge who your inspiration is, or what the source is. Otherwise, it's like a researcher producing some work and not putting down the sources, and people clapping hands for them and saying this is amazing, but they have sources from somewhere else. Yes, Keshi?
Yes, I wanted to say you have raised an important discussion here, that point that cultural appropriation it's not just the mainstream culture taking aspects or cultural markers from minority cultures. From this example, we can see this is somebody would say she's from a minority culture taking from another culture. So it's not always the minority's culture that is appropriated. The majority culture or another culture could also claim cultural appropriation. Mm-hmm. And I'll give an example that we've been discussing about hair a lot, and that many Black people talk about hair being appropriated, their hairstyles. At the same time, this can be turned around, and people who have other hair, like blonde people with straight hair, can claim that Black people are appropriating. So I don't know, where is the balance here?
I saw Shiro's hand. I don't know if you want to comment on what Keshi has said, or if you have a separate point.
No, actually, I was going to say the same thing, because for me, as an African living in Africa, this is a very unusual topic, and I actually find it funny because I don't see what the big deal is, in my opinion, because Africans then can be accused of appropriation because African people lighten their skin to try and look lighter. They wear wigs that are European styles. They bleach their hair blonde. Are we appropriating? But when a white person braids their hair, we turn on them. So please, for me, this is now a discussion where I really want to understand what this is all about. If a tourist comes to Kenya and they love the Maasai people and they dress up in Maasai culture, here there's no uproar. People are happy that, they appreciate the culture. We also, in Kenya, we are diverse. We have 46 tribes. I might like the Turkana hairstyles, and I tried it. I don't have to learn about the culture to do it. I don't think I should. I don't even think I need to tell anyone, no, this is a Turkana hairstyle or whatever. So I need to understand why this is a big deal. Because if someone wants to to look white or to look black, as long as they're not doing it to mock the other culture. For me, the main thing is mockery, or like the other lady who was taking advantage of benefits that were for minorities. For me, that's wrong. But for someone to just want to look this way or that way, I don't understand what the big deal is, to be honest. And please help me understand.
Okay, Shiro, I will comment on what you've said after Jamila, and then Shamsa, you can go after Jamila, and then Imani. Thanks.
So I've got two things to talk about what you said, Shiro. First one is the how in Africa people will do, you know, the bleaching and the blonde hair. I'd like to say that's actually a different topic from cultural appropriation, because they're doing it because of the beauty standard that was put on the entire world, that you have to look a certain way, not because they see it and they're like, oh, I want that. They literally feel like they're pressured into doing it. And they sometimes you don't even realize that that's what's happening to you. So I was going to say is, you know, when you said if someone wants to have it, they just make sure they don't mock it. Well, an example of that is, for example, the Kardashians. They built their entire career from appropriating Black people, which they might not be mocking it, but they're using it to their advantage. And they never, ever, ever, ever give like say, I got my inspiration from Black culture. So then you have people saying, oh, I want a big butt like Kylie Jenner or Kim Kardashian, and you're like, that's not theirs though. They appropriated someone else's, like, it's just, yeah, that's my opinion.
So if I may say something, Jamila, does it mean that if someone decides to have implants, they have to announce to the world that, oh yeah, I want to have a big booty like an African woman?
I mean, not like that, but like, I don't mean that. I mean, as in, okay, you can go get implants if you want, but then you go get implants, you tan your skin, you get braids, you use cornrows, all of these things put together. It's like, it's so obvious that that's where you're getting your inspiration from. So it's better to say that you're doing it and you love it, and that's it. Like, for example, even though Rachel Dolezal was that extra thing of going into another university and taking someone else's, if she didn't do that, I wouldn't really care, because she's always said that she appreciates like being like a Black woman or whatever she thinks she wants to do. So it's just doing it without appreciation, like we said at the beginning.
Yeah, and I'd like to mention regarding that case of Kardashian, what actually created the uproar when she had the cornrows was that she said, oh, I'm sporting the, what's her name again? That woman, Boderick style.
Boderick, yeah.
That was actually what caused the uproar, because she was not giving credit to the Black culture she copies, but to somebody else who had copied Black people. So that's the uproar, Shiro, about appropriating Black culture and taking that credit. And it's usually done in the fashion industry, in the music industry, where people who don't belong in that culture take something and then give credit to somebody else from their culture who's done it. So it's like there's no acknowledgement where all these cultural influences are coming from. That's what people are in uproar about.
So whose fault is it? Is it the person or the media?
Exactly. The person who is quoting the wrong, giving credit to the wrong person, and the media who is pushing these images, and everybody thinking, oh, I want cornrows like the Kardashian woman. Yeah.
Okay, let's now hear from Shamsa, sorry, and then Imani.
Yeah, I will continue Jamila's, that she was talking about Kardashian, and then she said, I can't understand what. The thing is, it's not only about the, you know, appreciation or everything. It for the people of, you know, majority, it's all right when, you know, the minority, they copied their fashion, their style, it's okay for them. But if they took any, you know, thing from the minority, it will, they considered harmful it for their culture and everything, not even a, you know, when they're talking about who the fault is, a people or individual. No, there are so many organizations, those working for the culture, appropriation. They consider it harmful by various groups and individuals, including the people who are working for the and advocating for the collective intellectual property rights and for the culture appropriation.
Okay, Shamsa, I'm assuming you're talking about that it can be harmful, like when minority groups appropriate the majority culture is not harmful, but it can be harmful if it's the other way around. Is that what you?
Yeah, I'm not giving my opinion. It's not my opinion. I'm giving you a fact. It's a factual. If you Google, you will see there are so many organizations who are working on it, and they're considering it harmful if a majority taking a trend or taking a fashion or copying the minority. It's harmful for the culture.
Yes. I think an example is the Native American culture, where people have taken and exploited it as costume when they're trying to promote their indigenous culture, not as a thing of the past, but this is how they live. And people are going around putting on their culture as a costume. And this is from the majority group, which is white Americans, who actually slaughtered these people. So it's like a trigger when they watch and see these people putting on the costumes like a joke without acknowledging the oppression that group put up the Native Americans. So thanks for that point.
Yeah, I want to add one thing more. You know, in previous days, they awarded the ladies for the fashion in America, and they completely wipe out, other race. They only give the awards in fashion industries and everything to a white people. There was no other race. They made it sure that no other race will be there.
I think,
and I was reading on the paper. It's fact. I'm not giving my opinion, but I'm telling you the facts.
Yes, so I think, Shiro, that answers your question a bit, what Shamsa has just said. The reason why some people might bleach their skin and dye their hair blonde is because, for example, in the media, in the fashion industry, the beauty standard that's promoted is like this, and people feel invisible or they think they're not beautiful if they look like that. So their appropriating is not harming the culture that they're appropriating, if you get what I mean. But
I still don't understand completely. I understand partly, but I don't see why it's wrong for a white person to wear or to want to look black. Like there's some German model who, I don't know, maybe you can look for her. She actually turned black. People have different opinions about it, but I don't see anything wrong with that because black people do it all the time. Why is it wrong when it's a white person braiding their hair? For instance, I'm just doing this for the sake of argument. Broderick actually made cornrows popular and acceptable because before, African styles like braiding hair and cornrows were seen as backward. She, as a big actress, donned them and people accepted them and she made them popular. What's wrong with that?
Because
I'd like to interject there.
Yeah.
Can I say?
I'm ready to be corrected. I'm ready to be corrected.
I'd like to interject there and say she did not make them popular for black people. She made it. She made a fashion statement, and until last year, 2019, that was when in America a law was created against discriminating people with black people with natural hair. So she made no difference to black people's wearing their natural hair in braids in the corporate world and in school.
Not to black people, but white people. To white people, they actually now started seeing it as acceptable.
Yeah, but
for us, it was always acceptable. But she made it acceptable.
Now we are talking.
Sorry,
Shiro, we have to think about the context. In her context, where she is, this was seen as a fashion statement. People admiring her braids, but still in the real world, black people were not allowed by corporates, by schools to wear their natural hair, it's seen as not professional. So how does Broderick wearing braids help the Black culture she's appropriating?
Not the Black culture. My point is that she made white people come to appreciate braids and the way we wear them. We have always worn cornrows.
Yeah, but what difference does that make to the originators of that culture?
She made it exposed.
Okay, so Imani, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Tashiko, I agree about, Tashiro, I agree about you that I like when I see other people liking Black culture and so on, and wanting to have Black features. For me, the reason why I'm a bit like I don't know what to think about it is because for years, Black features have been looked down upon. Having big lips have been made fun of. Having Afro has been looked down upon. Any kind of African hairstyle, or just having dark skin. And then the moment a white American or whoever takes these features on them is looked as stylish, as beautiful, as amazing, and then suddenly becomes the trend. Everybody wants to have it, which I don't understand because I've had these features for years. Many of you that have had these features for years, but it's not acknowledged as something beautiful or something desirable until someone who is part of the majority does it. So that's my point.
So that, Shiro, I don't know if that clears it up a bit for you.
I think, I would still have to disagree with some points because even we ourselves can popularize these hairstyles and all. For example, we have many Black actresses who are very popular. Why don't, like Alicia Keys, for example, she did have cornrows and she made people actually appreciate them. Why don't Black people do that? We can do that. There are those who are popular and who are well known by everyone who can do that.
As long as the mainstream culture and as well as the corporate world continues to have a negative impression of those kind of styles, it doesn't matter what Alicia Keys does. There has to be a change where people wearing their natural hair is acceptable, the way it grows out of their head. And it hasn't been in the US, where we are talking, actually, that's their context. Because in Kenya, like you said, we don't have people wear their natural hair. People can wear their hair the way they want. If you want cornrows and go to work, you have it. If you want an afro, you have it. But there we have people being told, not that's your job. Really? And then if somebody else who is not of that ethnicity is wearing that style, it's acceptable. How is that fair, really?
I agree with that.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think the issue with mainstream beauty standards is completely separate from the appropriation, and maybe it's muddying the whole concept to Shiro. And Shiro, we spoke as well just last week about beauty standards, and we know even in Kenya, because of colonialism and slavery, there's been some residual effect where you told us that a child was being barred from going to school because they had their hair in locks. We've seen another child in Africa who couldn't go to school in an afro. So these beauty standards that are mainstream have been transferred to other parts of the world. So that's a completely different issue, I think, when people want to look a certain way because that's considered right or appropriate. Yes, Jamila?
Can I ask a question, please?
Can you hold the question because Jamila's had her hand up for a while, please? Thanks.
Okay. I just wanted to say about the how there's Black people in positions where they have like a following to show the appreciation like of Black culture. It's actually, I've seen a lot of different artists who appreciate Black culture and they adopt, they literally, it's their being, they sing about it, they don't get popularized. They don't get that limelight because mainstream media literally puts us in this box. They have people like Beyonce who just have their straight hair or look lighter, but they don't allow people like Janelle Monáe to become popular. And she always appreciates Black culture. So it's not really our fault in like appreciate. It's more the people who they think are acceptable, even though it might just be their style and their preference, they put into mainstream like things.
So the media. Okay, thanks, Jamila. McKenna, did you want to say something about the whole thing?
I wanted to comment on what Imani said. So I have a friend, her name's Black, and not recently, but like a year ago or two, we were having this argument with some girl in our school, and then the girl says lips and says she has monkey lips and saying she's got a big nose and all this stuff. But then, as soon as it becomes a trend for people like Kylie Jenner to have big lips, she was the same person who was saying, "Oh, big lips, I want big lips." So I didn't really understand that, and that's why I think like Mill was saying, Black people will be appreciating the culture all the time, but they won't become popular. As soon as it's a majority person, someone who's in the majority, like Kylie Jenner doing it, then everyone all of a sudden sees it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, McKenna, for sharing. I think part of your answer also touches on what Shiro is trying to understand. Maybe it's just different because you're from a different continent. You're in Kenya, where the majority is Black people. Maybe you don't experience the same feelings towards appropriation as can happen when you're outside, in the Western society. So we're here to learn, we're here to teach each other. We're also here to listen to other viewpoints. I think, Imani, you live in Denmark, and you've been very clear about you don't see what the big deal is in some instances. And you've been clear about what you don't like is when there's a lack of respect or acknowledgement. So I just want to know what the others who haven't said anything think. Yes, Maggie?
I just want to understand what Shiro is saying, because like Shiro says, whose fault is it? Is it the mainstream? Or because like Jamila had said, the mainstream want to feature people like Beyonce, and the people who are promoting African culture. So the fault is not the person who is doing it, it's the media. Like Shiro is saying, because if I want to wear a Turkana hairstyle, do I have to go say this is a Turkana hairstyle? It's for that person who sees it as a Turkana hairstyle and have it because it is a Turkana hairstyle. I love it the way it is. So sometimes we would blame even those people who are doing it, but it is not them, it's the media which is featuring other against other or other more at the other one.
Okay, thanks, Maggie. So for you, you feel it's the media that is at fault because they promote one thing over another, and individuals just, they take advantage of that, and it's not their fault. Is that what you're saying?
And it's the media which is featuring the other one above the other. So I don't think if that person has a fault.
Okay, thanks, Maggie, for your viewpoint. Anyone want to comment on what Maggie has said about media being the ones at fault? Yes, Keshi? And Shiro, I remember you have a question, so we'll come back to you after Keshi.
Yeah, the media may be at fault, but what about those who consume that media and buy into that? How come there is no... Yeah, that's why we have now this call out culture, because people have realized now that you have to give credit to where credit is due. So that's what started the discussion, this call out culture, where you call out people for cultural appropriation, because we have the media promoting things, and then for a long time it's just been credit being given elsewhere. But now people are more aware and they want credit to be given to where it's due. So we who are consume that media then are the ones who should speak up like we are doing now.
Okay, thanks, Keshi, for that. So you think the consumers of media should also say something about it and not passive users, what they feel the public wants. So if something is popular in the public, then the media jump on it and they capitalize on that. So
because of the way my opinion is on this subject, I think that us trying to sweep the fact that this person, it's not like kind of their fault because the media does it, but they need to have self-awareness. How can you not know that you're taking someone else's culture without just appreciating it in general? If I will go out and I'll find myself like a really nice oriental dress, you can't just wear that and then like act like it didn't come from somewhere in the first place.
yeah, thanks, Jamila. There have actually been people from various cultures just saying that sometimes people wear things without actually acknowledging where they've come from or even understanding the significance. Like if it's Oriental dress, there's some colors that you only wear on specific events, and then somebody just puts it on as, to go to a party. Or I've seen Indians saying when people put the bindi here, without recognizing that the different colors mean different things, and you just put on like oh, I feel like being Indian today, and put on the bindi, and you don't even know what the different colors mean. And that's the thing that some people are not happy about. That just try and understand and learn about the culture that you love, and acknowledge the inspiration of whatever you're doing.
I want to comment on media. There is, very big connection between politics and mass media. They are closely related to the reason that media is source in shaping public opinion and political beliefs and everything. When, media is portraying something like we are talking about culture, appropriating. So someone must be working behind the media. It's not the media by own, they are representing something. So it's, the mass who are not accepting the things. That's why media is portraying the thing which you are talking about. So it's not, but so you can say, if I will go back to my point that when a minority adopt a fashion or thing from the majority, it's all right. But when a majority get a thing from minority, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shamsa. And the problem is because media can show that minority culture is very negative, but when it's profitable, then it's okay. And that's the issue, that people can take off these costumes and these styles if it becomes problematic for them, if they face discrimination or somebody does something negative to them. But other than that, if they can capitalize on it, then they don't have a problem with. Yes, Shiro?
I was a little curious and I wanted to ask a question. I think I should ask it to Shamsa. If me as an African woman decided I want to wear a sari or a Punjabi suit, and I know some family member of mine used to really like wearing Punjabi suits, would that be offensive to someone from, let's say, Southeast Asia or India or wherever? Do I have to understand what it means and all that?
No, it won't be. If you go to when you will wear a Punjabi dress, your family or friend will say it's nice, it's very good. And if you will go, I can't talk about my country because there are very less people from Africa, but they're very comfortable. They're getting education from universities, and people are accepting. There is no biased behavior for them. But if we are talking about in UK, I will go to back to Manchester, because there is a multicultural, society there. There is a specific area where the multicultural people live mostly there. And there are similar shops, like if you go to Asian shop, and next there is next shop is for African people, like long dresses and people love to buy these dresses and these perfumes. There are specific perfumes there. People love to, I'm not talking about the white people, I'm talking about, you talked about Punjabi people or Pakistani people. Mostly ladies goes there and they go there and they buy their long dresses, or and they love it, and people comment it looking nice, and they are not biased.
So Shamsa, I also would like to know, like, because I love some of the Pakistani dresses and the Indian dresses, I find them so beautiful. So if I wore them, would it cause an issue for you?
No, we will feel happy that you are wearing our dress and you are liking it. It's nice. We appreciate. In Pakistan, they are, on airing a drama, or you can say a series. It's on Netflix as well. That's called Artrul from Turkey. And people are appreciating very much, and they're adopting their, not only their, dresses or culture, they're selling their things, and they love it. They want to, we want us that people use our dresses, and we can adopt their culture as well. If something appealing, you can adopt it.
Okay, so thanks, Shamsa. I'm gonna comment personally, because I also have my personal view that I think at the root of this is exploitation and acknowledgement. So if people are exploiting a certain culture with no acknowledgement whatsoever to the maybe sacred value or discrimination or different things that that culture faces, then it's a problem. So if somebody decided to wear personally an African outfit, and they weren't African and they weren't disrespectful or exploitative, I don't have an issue with it personally. And Shamsa has said she also doesn't have an issue. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, most people on this panel just do not like it when people exploit the culture and don't acknowledge, for example, the source. So if somebody is wearing a culture and they're told, oh, it's nice, they're like, oh yeah, I just thought I can just try this. And they know they stole the look from somewhere. I think that's an issue if people don't acknowledge and respect where the source is from. So I think Imani was next, and then Maggie. And then we need to think about wrapping up.
So I agree with everything you just said about the problem is people exploiting cultures. I think also what I saw right now, you guys been doing is you asked Shamsa what she thought about it, which I think is where you could start. If you know someone from that culture that you really admire, just ask them, like, so am I doing the right thing or whatever, if you're not sure about something, because already there shows that you're aware and you don't want to be disrespectful. So I think that's a good solution too.
Yeah, thank you, Imani, for that, because that's an opportunity also for this person you're speaking to educate you on maybe if whatever you want to do has a religious or sacred significance where it would be inappropriate, and they would explain that to you, but they could tell you, but you can do this instead. This one is fine to do, and nobody will be offended if you do it. So it's a way to be able to hear from the people that you want to emulate, or the culture you want to emulate, what they think and what's appropriate and inappropriate. Jamila.
I just wanted to talk about like something that's a bit of a little, turn from the subject, but I've recently been seeing this cancel culture and stuff, and then within it there have been people who, like, for example, Asian, like a Chinese Asian was saying that why is it okay for Black people to call out whatever, but then they culture appropriate our style and stuff. And this is where the line gets blurry, is that if it was someone saying it from where they originally came from, they actually live. If you're telling me to stop using like an Oriental dress, but you live in America or in a Western country where you listen to rap music, you think it's cool, you dress urban, you've got to stop all that stuff then, because then you're telling us to stop doing it, but you literally live in pop culture.
Who else? Keshi, yes?
Yes, now I've forgotten my point. One thing I want to say is that I can take from this discussion is that all this depends on the context, because you can have a context where, like Shiro said, if a European comes to Kenya and wears Maasai dress or any other ethnic dress, the people will not complain about it, like you said yourself. So context matters, because in countries like America, where there are some certain cultures, like Black culture, is commodified and then sold as part of pop culture, you can understand why there would be an uproar from Black people, because they themselves, the people who produce this culture, they are not allowed to enjoy aspects of that culture, yet it's being sold as the in thing. So you can understand in that context that appropriation is a big issue. But it's not a big issue in Kenya, because Kenyans don't mind their Western people coming to wear their costumes. Shamsa herself has said, if I want to wear a Punjabi suit, she'll appreciate, and I don't have to show an understanding of what. Though I myself personally, and I'll admit on this channel, I was fond of wearing Punjabi suits in Kenya, but I wouldn't do it here in the West, because I know here in this context, then there's a lot of cultural discussion about that. So for personally, I wouldn't do it. I can appreciate it on somebody from that culture. I also wanted to mention that there was this discussion about the media. The media is not just people who present what people want, but the media also has a role of, they also set the agenda. The media can set the agenda of what is the acceptable aesthetic, beauty aesthetic. So the media is not just giving us what we want, they also set the agenda, what is acceptable. So in some way or the other, there's a discussion there to be had.
Okay, thanks, Keshi. I think what you said about the media is also what Shamsa said, that mass media, obviously, there's an agenda usually with what is to be peddled as acceptable or appropriate. I wanted to just show you quickly the picture of this lady, because I think it's so funny, of the German model. And I don't have a problem with her, because she actually just says, I just love being Black and I want to be Black. So she's not trying to, I don't know, everyone has an opinion. Keshi doesn't like it, but I find it interesting. Here she is. So this is a German model who has done multiple surgeries so that she could look like that. Black, because she loves being Black. So I think this is her before, the blonde there. And she has just gradually changed herself to look like that. So we don't have time to discuss that, but you know, everyone has their view about that. I also want to show you just a little clip from the girl, the Irish dancer, the Black Irish dancer, and what she responded when everyone was coming for her for, you know, just a second. I won't play the whole thing, I'll just play a bit just so you can see. Okay.
After going viral with her Irish dancing, the reaction was overwhelmingly positive, but there were a few who thought that what she was doing was inappropriate. the negative comments that people were leaving under the video, what were people saying?
Just early on, like shortly after posting it, some people were saying that what I was doing was cultural appropriation, just because I don't look like what you would typically picture an Irish dancer to look like. But I mean,
So were they saying because you weren't Irish and because you were not white that you shouldn't be performing Irish dancing?
yeah, basically that's what they were saying.
You were misappropriating the Irish dancing culture.
I mean, my understanding of the term is that it means when you're taking something from another culture, claiming it as your own without recognizing where it comes from, and that's couldn't be further from what I'm doing. Like, it's important for people to recognize that there's a difference between appropriation and appreciation. I think people use the term appropriation without knowing what it really means.
Okay, so I think we are going to try and wrap up. You guys can think about what that girl said, what about the German also, who just loves dark skin and the African look, and think about whether that's appropriating or appreciating. And I don't know, we didn't hear much from Karine. I hope that you were able to get some points to ponder about.
It's been a lot of food for thought. So thank you all so much for your contributions. And yeah, I mean, all I can say is that I'm hoping to learn. So I've just taken a lot from today. I think one of the things that kind of came to mind, well, there are a couple of things that came to mind for me, but one of the questions I kind of thought at some point you were talking about, or yeah, between you were talking about how, you know, whether it's an issue if minority communities take on the majority communities, things like hair or dress style, etc. And I kind of did also have a question there about in how far that is kind of forced, because, you know, if you do come to the UK, maybe there's this expectation that in order to integrate, you would have to do that. So that was one of the things that kind of came to mind for me. And I think that's quite different from a white person, you know, taking someone's, something from someone's culture and not acknowledging that. So I think there's a very different dynamic there, and which is also important. Yeah, so one of the things that came to mind a lot for me, and it's a very kind of shameful thing, I think. So in the Netherlands, we have this, basically instead of celebrating Christmas, one of the things we celebrate is called St. Nicholas, and I don't know if you ladies are familiar with it, but it's basically, we celebrate a saint, and the way it's celebrated in the Netherlands is very controversial. So the way it's celebrated is basically the saint is this old white man, and he is accompanied by what the media and politicians call helpers, but actually they are, well, they're called, or what, yeah, they're called in the Dutch tradition, if you will. We call them Black Peets. So they're basically, well, they obviously come from slavery. So it used to be this white guy who had slaves, and then the slaves would, you know, hand out gifts to Dutch children, and that's kind of continued. It's become kind of like a Dutch tradition, and that already, you know, is kind of, is that something we want to remember and celebrate every year? Yeah. But besides that, there's an additional challenge there, which is that instead of, so one of the ways it's celebrated is on the 5th of December, white people, because the Netherlands does have a majority white population, dress up as Black people, and they hand out gifts to kids. And this has been super controversial because there's obviously a massive movement saying this is extremely, well, I would say racist and very offensive that we are celebrating this. And I think one of the ways and the reasons it's, well, obviously there's many reasons why it's offensive, but one of the problems social problems that it brings with it is that, you know, when you're a Dutch teenager, it's very normal that at some point you get asked to be a Black Pete for school or for kids parties or stuff like that. And that's kind of like celebrated, whereas at the same time, Black kids get called out as Black Petes and they get kind of bullied and discriminated on the basis of this. So I've had that in mind while, you know, we were talking about this whole discussion, because I find it a very shameful thing that a country which is meant to be very liberal and progressive, you know, that this is still even a discussion. But yeah, that's something that came to mind a lot, because I think it's a really clear example of how it can have such a massive impact, where if you ask white Dutch people, a lot of them say, no, but it's tradition and it's not discriminatory because we celebrate it. And, you know, it's like a celebration, we dress up as Black people. And it's like, well, no, because first of all, it comes from slavery. And second of all, you know, this is having really big repercussions on Black kids and Black people who live in the Netherlands who are being discriminated on the basis of this. So yeah, I thought I would share that with you all, because it's in the Netherlands, it's like one of the biggest kind of political discussions that happens every year about whether, you know, they actually, because the state actually also funds it in a way, so they, you know, hire like an official national white old man and then an official national white / Black, like white people who dress up as, you know, they don't even get Black people to do it, they actually get white people to dress up.
Yeah, that's an issue in itself.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'll let Keshi comment. I think she wants to respond to that. And thanks for sharing that story of the Netherlands, because we're all in different countries, so we don't know what's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Point to learn, and we can do a bit more research about that as well. Yes, Keshi?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic actually, and a discussion that we could have here on this channel, because also living in Denmark, there's been discussions similar to that but different about historical books and those kind of things. People who are politically correct feel that this kind of references to Black people using what we would consider as a slur, those who are politically correct want those changed. And then a big debate here on why should you change a culture? And, you know, it's just like the statues. So I think that would be an interesting discussion, also in line with what that discussion about Black Pete. How far is too far? And when people want to change something, is it pandering to what is maybe trending at the moment? Like now, after the Black Lives Matter movement, that issue of Black Pete was discussed a lot also online in many discussions about, is it right to have such a tradition, and what should the Dutch do about it? So it would be interesting to see what people think about that, and also come with examples from different countries of practices that, what do we think as cultural practices? What do we think about that?
Yeah, thanks, Keshi. I mean, with the Black Petes and the St. Nicholas celebration, again, we'll go back to whoever is chosen to be Black Petes, they can be that for a day and put on the black face and color themselves, but they don't have to live with that daily discrimination that I'm sure the Black people in Holland, some of them experience on a daily basis. And I think that's what's the trigger or the itch for some people, like, oh, it's good for you, you can just put that on and take it off at the end of the day, but I can't take off my skin at the end of the day, and I have to live with the discrimination on a daily basis. So that's something to discuss. I hope that the Black Lives Matter, the global movement, might take that discussion in the Netherlands a bit further, just because everyone is talking about those things at the moment. So unfortunately, guys, we have gone. Yes, Shiro, just quickly, because we need to wrap up.
I'm just going to say thank you. This has been a very, very good discussion, and I have learned a lot.
You're welcome, and I want to thank all the panelists. Everyone's contributed something. I think we've all learned something as well. I feel I've learned a lot, you know, and hearing people's different viewpoints. Also, people challenging some of these views, and others countering and explaining what they think. I think that this is why these panels are great. Also learning about the Netherlands, because we've had Denmark, we've had Kenya, we had Pakistan, and we've had, in the past, we've had people from other countries. So it's good to just have these discussions and get different views. So thanks a lot for joining. Thanks for your time. I know we've gone over and I promised we wouldn't go over. So thanks for your patience. Next week, please join us on another deep topic, which I thought we were meant to alternate between deep and not deep. But next week is intersectional feminism. What does it mean? So if you want to learn more about intersectional feminism, please join. I'm sure there'll be some viewpoints as well. Some people think feminism is outdated or too much or whatever. Others feel completely disconnected from it for whatever reason. So we can discuss that next week. Of course, as someone from a women's organization, I'm a feminist and I have my view about feminism, so I can't wait to join this discussion next week. So thanks again for joining, and I'll see you next week.